This room is called the Essex Room because not far from this spot, a long time ago, the Earl of Essex led a rebellion against those who controlled the government, who pulled the strings, the political strings of the government. He had the masses behind him, but he failed. And why did he fail? Elizabethan era. Queen Elizabeth was on the throne, and he failed because he didn't convince the thinking people, the intellects, the people who have influence to support him. Now, our next speaker is someone who is doing a lot to persuade the thinkers of this world, the influential thinkers, the intellectuals, to come over to our movement. So please put your hands together and give a big round of applause to, all the way from Finland, Kai Murros.
Fortune favours the bold. Ancient Roman quote teaches us that if we want to be winners, we must think like winners. Today, everything is in a flux. Nothing is certain anymore, and the world we have learned to know, and all the great truths we've been taught to believe in, have been challenged. Behind the respectful facade of the system, there is a genuine panic and chaos, and it may well take only a flutter of a butterfly's wings to wreck the system completely. We are living breaking times when things may take a very violent and sudden turn to almost anywhere, and as one thing always leads to another, the final outcome of this chain reaction may well be very surprising indeed. Just imagine how the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand in Sarajevo in 1914 really started the 20th century, and where it eventually took Europe and the world. Who could have seen in the summer 1914 how the world would stand in 1992 when the great cycle of the 20th century finally closed with the collapse of communism, Berlin Wall and the breakup of Yugoslavia, all more or less direct results of the First World War. I believe that the coming megatrend will be in our favour. The European nationalists are about to catch a powerful wind in their sails. The constantly growing pressure from immigration, crime, terrorism and social collapse fueled by the crisis of global capitalism will result in a paradigm shift, a fundamental and irreversible intellectual upheaval that will change the way we see the world and our place in it. Just like in France, just before the Great Revolution, when the mood of the people violently turned against the aristocracy and the clergy. But the question remains, are we ready to be winners? Do we have the appetite for it? Do we have the right attitude for it? One major psychological stumbling block is that if we think like victims and behave like victims, people will see us as victims, weak and helpless. And if we give this impression to people, they will not take us seriously. Therefore, instead of complaining about the injustices of this world, we should already today confidently focus our eyes into the future, into the world we are determined to build, so that our positive vision of the future becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We are not victims. When the time comes, our enemies will be the victims. The strength of Marxism was that it promised people victory, regardless of how difficult the current situation may have been. For nearly 150 years, the idea that the revolution is predetermined by the material forces in history gave numerous generations great courage to face dangerous enemies and to make tremendous sacrifices, often in extremely difficult circumstances. This deterministic view on history did not make people passive, as one might expect, but cleared any doubts they may have had about the future and actually activated people. Many nationalists, however, seem to think that we have already been defeated, everything is lost, and that our future will be awful. Nationalism is plagued with defeatism and cynicism. It is ironic that so many nationalists are actually expecting our civilization to collapse, but fail to recognize the great potential of the coming crisis. Indeed, terrible things will happen, and so it should be, because eventually everything will work in our favor. We have to learn to understand that the coming national revolution is a direct consequence of the current economic, social, ethnic contradictions, and as such a predetermined phase in the evolution of our civilization. As the economic, social and ethnic contradictions are only growing in the modern world, our most cunning weapon against the system is to snuff out all hope people may still have. Considering the state of the world is in today, it doesn't take much to shake people's confidence in the system. But instead of being worried, anxious or desperate about the coming turmoil, we must fearlessly welcome it, we must celebrate it, we must embrace it. We must always make it absolutely clear that the collapse of the Western societies into a raging ethnic tribal war only serves our cause, and that it is the necessary prerequisite for the national revolution. Therefore, our primary task is to convince everyone that chaos awaits. We must do everything within our power so that the sense of doom and gloom begins to haunt the society. We must persuade people to believe in the collapse, so that this collapse then becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy as well. Our analysis of the current world and the future is correct, while our enemies are blind and cannot see that they are only preparing the requirements for their own downfall. Surely this should give us confidence and strength. The fact that we can see further than others is our advantage. Surely we should also make it known that we have this advantage, that we are wiser, smarter, cleverer, and that we shall conquer in the end. When everyone else is scared and desperate, we are optimistic, because we have seen this coming and we know where all this will take us in the future. We are strong and confident, and people will desperately cling to us as their only hope, because they realize that we can see far beyond the horizon. While the liberal idealists are losing control and in their desperate plight do not know what is going on and what should be done, we remain cool-headed and rational. We must give the impression that nationalists are a calculating, conspiring and all-seeing think tank of brilliant minds making plans and strategies for the future. Only those who are convinced themselves that they will be successful can also convince others and inspire them to join the struggle. Optimism and success often go hand in hand and can be very contagious. Nothing breeds success like success. It's always better to be overconfident and arrogant rather than desperate and frustrated, because nobody likes those who have lost all hope. The defeated will have no followers. Our most powerful weapon in this struggle is our absolute conviction that eventually we will win. But if you want to win, you have to be there already. You have to behave as if you have already won. Being right means that we are also luckier than others. And indeed, if you really look at it, you will see that everything that happens today serves, in the end, only our cause. Only we have the historical momentum. People need visions. People follow visions. People will even die for visions. The ills of this world do not move masses, no matter how bad things are. Nothing happens until people know what they actually want, until they have a dream to fight for, to kill for, to die for, a direction where to march. The driving force in human history has always been the narrative, the story, the myth. We can see how entire empires have been built upon them. The great religions, which are basically just stories, have nevertheless been foundations for ancient and gigantic civilizations. It is absolutely vital for our movement that we can tell a powerful story as well. Our story has to be about the survival of Europe and about Europeans coming together, putting aside their past grievances and uniting as a family at last. Our story has to involve a struggle against enemies who try to destroy us and take our land, a final battle against multitudes of wild savages, an ocean of grotesque subhumans trying to rape our civilization, much like a howling right at the last minute. Our story must also involve a bloody revenge against those traitors who have weakened us, led us astray. Revenge brings catharsis, and without catharsis, our story would be incomplete. Our story has to be about hope lost and hope rekindled, and it has to end in a gigantic victory with a promise of a glorious future. All great epochs in human history can be recognized by their achievements in art, architecture, and aesthetics. We can immediately recognize the style and mood of Renaissance and Baroque. Roman ruins tell us a story just like the massive red brick factories of the Industrial Revolution or modern skyscrapers. The aesthetics is the testimony of spirit of each epoch in history. Therefore, it is imperative that the pan-European movement also creates its own unique style. An inspiring task for us today is to start designing the aesthetics of the pan-European age and the future world. Since pan-European age will be the new high point of our civilization, everything must be designed anew. How our homes, public buildings, villages, towns, cities, bridges, factories, artworks, clothing, and simple everyday objects look like. Everything must reflect the distinct style of the great pan-European age, something that can be recognized hundreds and even thousands of years from now. Pan-European age will be the next Renaissance and Enlightenment. It will be considered as the new classical age since the Roman Empire, and just like the Roman Empire, it will set the standards for art, architecture, and aesthetics for thousands of years to come. This is a great intellectual and artistic task of utmost importance, for aesthetics not only reflect the character of the new society, but also strengthen it. Aesthetics, as manifested in the constructed physical environment, subliminally guide us to understand the current zeitgeist and the great truths of the age. We should consider ourselves lucky for having this extraordinary opportunity to lay the artistic and intellectual foundations for an entirely new era in human history. If our message is aesthetically inspiring enough, people will also accept our vision of the future and start wanting it more than anything else. We will create the world of tomorrow, the 21st century European fashion, design, art, architecture, and lifestyle already today in people's minds. The worst mistake would be, though, if we allow the nationalist movement to regress into a mere retro movement, if we try to face the future with our eyes fixed into the past, recycle kitsch and worn-out obsolete imagery, and react to the challenges of the modern world by escaping into nostalgia. If at this critical juncture in our history it turns out that European nationalism is, after all, only reactionary, unimaginative provincialism, then all hope is definitely lost. Therefore, our paramount task is to prove that the European nationalist movement is not regression, but an entirely new kind of streamlined and progressive modernist movement. The decisive weapons that settle the battle over cultural and spiritual hegemony in the society are creativity, the ability to dream, and the ability to tell a powerful story. It is vital that we possess them and use them. In order to win, our movement has to be about love, life, and sex. The youth revolution of the 1960s was energized primarily by sex. Politics, music, and drugs were only secondary. The greatest high came from open collective sexuality. Nothing brings young people together in such massive numbers as sex. The entertainment and the advertising business know this fully well. Young people have always been willing to go great lengths only to be able to meet other young people and to bond sexually. It is a tragic loss if the nationalist movement is perceived as a stifling, asexual movement. If the worst thing is if we start preaching young people old biblical and Victorian virtues and give the impression that our movement is stuck in the 19th century. The desert religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism are rife with bizarre sexual obsessions. Therefore, we must not let the books of Moses distort the bright souls of our young people with intellectual garbage which is hostile and damaging to their emotions and completely alien to love and life. We must not let outdated middle-class puritanism turn our movement barren and sterile. We must make every young person in the movement feel that they are physically and socially appealing. We must make every young person in the movement feel that they are beautiful, brave, and strong. We must make every young person in the movement feel that they have something to give, that they are respected and needed. The national revolution must be a great adventure for our young people, an opportunity to do heroic deeds for the community. National revolution is about life, the life of the national community, and about protecting that life and defending its living space. This is something you don't find in dull books and tedious theories. It is coded in our genetic makeup, it lies in our instincts. No wonder the parasitical and perverted left cannot realize it. National revolution must be the second sexual revolution, or otherwise it will die away. Every young person in the nationalist movement must have the opportunity to love and be loved, regardless of their sexual orientation. All we demand is that you love your people more than you love yourself, and that you hate the enemies of your people more than anything else.